Well, it's not a victory Monday. We got a little too used to those, didn't we, Mike?
We did, man. We had too much gloating puffing out our chest, and we got a taste of humble pie on Thursday night.
Now we know what it feels like to be mortal.
Yeah.
So we're here with everyone to help kind of process this. We've had almost a week or half a week to kind of deal with it, to cope, to seek our higher power, to whatever it is we need to do to get okay. And hopefully we're all in a little bit better headspace. But we're here. We're going to talk about the game a little bit. We're going to take your questions and answers. For the next 30 minutes, Mike and I are going to be here for a collective group counseling session. So let's jump right into it. We're going to do what we do every week, which is our segment on studs and duds. Usually it's more studs and duds, but I have a feeling this week it might be the other way around. So, Mike, obviously, as the guest on my channel, please go ahead and get us started. Who is your first stud from the game that was?
Absolutely. So I think everybody who's been watching this show for quite some time, everybody hears about how much I gloat about James Conner. And James Conner has done very, very well this last game. But I wanted to give some love over to our other running back and have to go ahead and give my stud award over to Chase Edmonds. This time around for getting his very first rushing touchdown. Big kudos to him, man. As long as we can get him going, and obviously the dynamic between both of them, you got to love it. But getting his first rushing touchdown is huge. In terms of stats, we got 7 carries, 30 yards, nothing too crazy, nothing to scream on top of a building about. But hey, man, as long as we're getting the production, I love it. So Chase Edmonds is my first stud of the week.
He was on the list of players I was looking at too. I think that's a good call, getting his first touchdown of the season. Connor could have been a pick with his 2 touchdowns. Just in general, I love the combination. I just think it's working really well for this team. So I'm going to go on the other side of the ball, and a name we don't talk about a lot in the positive sense, but Jordan Hicks actually had a good game. He had 12 tackles, and he was one of our better graded defenders for the game for PFF. He had a PFF defensive grade of 84.5 for the game, which was our second highest grade behind Dennis Gardeck, but Dennis Gardeck only played 5 defensive snaps. So, really Hicks had the best game on the defensive side. So got to give him a shout out there. But as we all know, this game was much more negatives than positives. So, Mike, who was your first dud of the game?
Dud for me here. I got to give it to... And let me just emphasize here real quick. We've been giving a lot of praise over to our rookie class, one of them being Rondale Moore, showing up very well. But he made it on my dud list. And the biggest reason as to why is because of his fumble, his crucial fumble that, granted, our defense held their own. They did a very, very good job in only holding Aaron Rodgers to a certain amount of points when stuff like that happened. But, man, that was big. It was huge. It was a big, huge swing. With Rondale Moore. And on top of that, I kind of felt a little frustrated seeing Rondale Moore coming out of the end zone a lot because he's losing a lot of yards. And I don't know what's happening on the sideline. I'm pretty sure the coaches maybe after the game told him, maybe take a touchback every once in a while, because sometimes we've seen him get stopped at the 16, at the 10. And we know our offense isn't the best when we're not starting at the 25. So he's my first stud of the week.
Yeah, I love Rondale Moore, but that was a rough game. Obviously, that fumble that was costly in a game that we lost by 3 points. I'm going to go with the obvious one, and that's AJ Green. Obviously on that miscue, and I know a lot of people have been hating on AJ Green. That the day of the game, comments were like, "We need to cut him." That was the worst ever. I'm like, I didn't have that visceral of a reaction. It was disappointing. He's made a lot of good plays for us. It just sucks. It happens. It happened at the worst time. But I think, I'm not hating on AJ Green. I still like what he brings to this offense, but I think I would be remiss if we didn't have him in our duds with what happened there. So, thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. It's so crazy, dude. I was watching Thursday Night Football. And this is the moment, like, so obviously everybody knows I have a kid. So I try my best to be very, very quiet while watching because this is her sleeping time. You know what I mean? So I am telling my wife, I'm like, just watch this. Look at what magic is happening with Kyler Murray. Like we're not used to seeing like this. And we start at what, the 2 or the 1, and Kyler Murray brought everybody back. And AJ Green was one of them that caught some crucial catches as well. So we got to give him a shout out to that. But man, the heartbreak of what we saw and the way it happened. Like, I understand we make mistakes. I get it. But the way it happened and just such a big moment where he thought he needed to block because he thought maybe it was a running. I don't know what it was, but even Kyler Murray in his post game, when they asked him what happened, he was like, I don't know, miscommunication, I guess. I mean, that's all we can kind of boil it down to. But I hope we can learn from stuff like that, where when we're in the huddle, we need to make sure that communication is down, and the coaching staff should emphasize this because that was such a huge point, and we could have won this game, but obviously it didn't turn out our way.
I think a little bit of that was on clock management too, because they got down to 14 seconds and that rushes everything. But I saw a report today that someone asked Cliff Kingsbury about that, about what happened, and basically he said something to the effect of he knows what happened, but he really wouldn't say anything more than one player thought one thing, while the other player thought something else was going on. So sounds like he wasn't going to throw under the bus the player, whoever it was, whether it was Kyler or AJ who had the wrong play. I'm assuming it was AJ since Kyler, he's the quarterback.
Yeah.
It looked a little bit like AJ thought he was going to be run blocking.
I thought, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it's so weird because you see Kyler Murray obviously get hurt, and the the past plays that happened earlier, he was limping. So like, why would there be a pass? I don't know. It was just weird, man. Really weird.
So who was your second dud for the game?
So I got to go ahead and give my second dud over to the run stopping defense. Man, we've seen it time and time again. And I think that we got to give credit to Green Bay Packers. They came out with a game plan with no Devontae Adams and no Adam Lazard. They came out, they knew what their game plan was run it down our throat, mix in some passes, some play action, some trick plays here and there. And they did a very good job, man. They exposed us. And I really hope that this doesn't open up the, how to beat the Arizona Cardinals. And one of the main things is keep Kyler Murray off the field. And that's exactly what they did with the amount of time of possession that they had. And the big point was we couldn't stop the run to save our life. And I got to give a dud to our run defense.
Yeah, and that wasn't surprising. We all kind of figured they would probably run on us because they have good running backs, and that's the weakness of our defense. They had I think they had the right game plan to beat us, which 100%. Is run the ball, right? And Aaron Rodgers, he didn't throw for a ton of yards, right?
Nope.
It was 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interceptions. Aaron Rodgers was not throwing it around the yard, and he's capable of doing it. But what they did is they ran the ball, played conservative, made throws when they need to, and they waited and forced some turnovers, and they got those turnovers. And that's the recipe. And, most teams, with the exception of the Titans, have been able to run on us, but we get ahead of them, and they have to give it up, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with the defensive side as far as a dud. And before I say my dud, everyone, thanks for being here. After we do this, we're going to do the Q&A. So if you have questions, please get them in the comments so we can hit on those questions once we get out of the studs and duds section. But I'm going to go with the pass rush. They had, I think, they had 1 sack on the day. Yeah, 1 sack. So they didn't put pressure on Rodgers the way you would like to have seen them put pressure on him. So that would be, another one of the duds. But, overall, I think the defense wasn't horrible, especially considering the situations they were put in.
Yeah.
It wasn't a stellar performance, but it wasn't as bad as it looks. But I'm going to say hey to some of the folks that are here. And if you got comments, get them, questions or comments, get them in there. Obviously, Len and I put this up earlier. His first one here. Thanks for being here. Captain Jarrell was second. Silver Wolf AZ was last. Let's see. We've got Mark Jackson. Thank you for being here. Always good to have you here, Mark. I'm glad we lost. We needed to get that off our chest. I mean, there's something to be said for the pressure that goes with being an undefeated team and having that first loss earlier in the season, so you can, right the ship. There's something to be said by that.
Oh, yeah. I honestly think that, rather lose now than in the playoffs type of mentality. And just because, like I said, I mean, you can learn a lot more from a loss and who your team is. And this is kind of in a situation where the trade deadline is kind of looming around. We have it tomorrow. Will the Cardinals make a move? Will they not make a move? I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. And, if you're going to lose a game too, like this,
that would be
it sucked the way we lost, but we lost in a short week to a good team that's now tied with us for the best record in the NFL, to a reigning NFL MVP in a game where we played poorly and still had a chance to win.
Isn't that crazy? And,
right?
and that's this game, and I'm telling you, all these primetime games that we're seeing, and I'm not trying to be biased, maybe a little bit, but this is probably one of the best primetime games we have seen all year. Cardinals versus the Packers. This was great. And yeah, we were frustrated as Cardinal fans, but like you said, man, we literally were 3 points away and a miscommunication away from possibly winning that game.
Right. And, Adixon or I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's so funny to see people we aren't Super Bowl contenders because we lost one game. I mean, yeah, only four. I think, are there 4 teams or 3 teams that are 7-1?
That's a good question, but I just want to say
I think there's a 6-1 team out there. Cowboys is 6-1 because they had a bye.
Right. So, yeah. To kind of answer AIDXN's, did you see Tampa lose to Saints? It's funny because I bet you anything they're just saying stuff like, Tom Brady had an off week, but it's okay, man. I think we fly better under the radar, anyways.
Yeah. So, think of it this way, and I've been saying this in comments on my responses to comments, like on my videos all week. There have only been 2 teams in the history of the NFL that have had undefeated regular seasons, right? Ever, right? So every team, with exceptions of those 2, have lost at least one game.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look at this, to dismiss the Cardinals because they lost a game to a team that's 7-1. That's now if we start losing more, that's a whole other question.
Exactly.
So I want to let's see. Someone's saying here, you think we'll re-sign him? I'm not sure. Now there were comments about Colt McCoy, and then we were talking about. So I'm not sure if that's who you're referring to. But if you want to follow up on that, let us know who you were asking about. Please let us know. Okay, you put an X because people were spelling with A's and E's. Okay, so I'm guessing it's Aiden then. Okay. Awesome. All right, so let's see. Moore sucks at special teams, man. He needs. I mean, he's good at special teams in terms of his ability with the ball in his hand. His problems have come thus far getting the ball in his hand. With that play and not fumbling it, and then making decisions like you talked about coming out of the end zone when he should have taken a knee, right?
Yeah.
But, he's a rookie, like you said. He's making mistakes, right? Another comment here about Josh Jones can't play guard. He's a tackle. I mean, he struggled at guard. He came out. He was a tackle. I agree. We need to see what happens.
Yeah.
But this one, I'll let you come on this one.
Yes. I haven't heard anything about specifically if he's coming back or not, but I know that this is the timeline where he should probably be coming back. And, man, that would be huge if he did come back. We need him back, please. Like, this offensive line, and I don't think Sean Harlow Max Garcia and Sean Harlow, they had the botch snaps, but overall, I think they did decent. They didn't do good. They didn't do great. I think they did decent. They're serviceable, but we need Rodney Hudson. I think everybody can be better in the offensive line when we do have our anchor, and that is Rodney Hudson, man. Hopefully.
Yeah, he makes everything work. He's that cog in there. So, and I've said this over the last 3 weeks or however many weeks, we're having way too many 3rd and longs because of bad snaps, bad penalties, and pressure up the middle. And a healthy Rodney Hudson helps fix all 3 of those things. And when Kyler gets that protection, we don't have those false starts and things like that, and we're not in those 3rd and longs. This offense puts up more points, right? So that's a huge one. Just to follow up, and I'll let you. Aiden says that he was talking about James Conner. Do you think we re-sign him? So what do you think? Do we think now? I'd have to look at his contract. I'm not sure if it was a 1 year or 2 year. I think it was maybe a 1. I'm going to look that up. But what do you think?
I think it is a 1 year deal too, as well, because he came off an injury. But yeah, definitely double check. I don't know. It's tough, man, because we're coming off this.
It's a 1 year deal.
1 year, right? Yeah, it's going to be such an interesting offseason. Such an interesting offseason because we might have Kyler Murray wanting to get his extension. We might have Chandler Jones. And let's talk about him a little later on because I got a little bit of bone to pick with him and seeing what his production is going on so far. But Christian Kirk might be wanting to get an extension as well. So I don't know. I love what James Conner is doing. I really do. But I don't know. When is Chase Edmonds' contract expired too? Isn't that around?
He's on the last year of his deal, I think.
Yeah, and then there is also Chase Edmonds. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough in how Steve Keim is going to be able to move everything around.
So here's my take. It depends on what they're expecting.
Yeah.
Right? Because my philosophy on running backs, and I'm not shy about this, is you don't pay big money for running backs. You draft them in the middle rounds and you keep them. And if when their rookie deal's out, if they want to, if they've been productive and they want to stay, and you can get them for $4, $5, $6 million a year, and they're good, and then fine. But I'm not up for big contracts. I love James Conner in terms of what he brings to this offense, and there aren't a ton of backs I think that are big, powerful backs like him that are as talented as he is. Injury's been the issue. If we can get him back for a reasonable deal, team-friendly deal, I'd love to have it, but I'm not up for paying big money. I love Chase Edmonds. He's a really good third down back. He's really good receiving. He's pretty good at running the ball. But I actually think, as much as I love James Conner, Chase Edmonds, a player, I think in terms of the player you can more easily replace in the draft, Edmonds is more easily replaceable because there's more guys like him in the draft than there are like Conner.
I agree. No, I completely agree. And we also got to think about, we also have Jonathan Ward. Maybe he might be coming up as well. I know he got hurt. Benjamin might be kind of, I'm not going to say a replica, but kind of have the same stature, kind of plays alike like Chase Edmonds, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a super chat.
So
I want to say thank you, and big free agency that we have this offseason: Edmonds, Ertz, Conner, Chandler Jones, Kirk. And absolutely. And this is the point you were alluding to there, Mike, that we can't, you can't just say, should we re-sign this guy, because you have to take in the totality of the salary cap. It's like, which guys can we bring back? And we have to, and again, we're going to have to extend Murray soon, right? Yeah. Maybe this off season. And I'll tell you, I feel bad because I've kind of gone back and forth. Originally, I was, don't pay Chandler Jones big money. Don't trade him. Keep him this year, but don't sign to a big contract. And then he had that week one. I was like, pay that man. And now we're like, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe we sit this thing out to the end and see what happens, because either we're going to see he's going to be worth paying, we'll pay him, or he's not. We're going to see, that was 1 week, but that's it. And we're glad we didn't pay him big money. Or maybe the price goes down, but I feel bad because I feel like I'm waffling, but I'm kind of going back to the, what?
It's being a fan, man. It's being a fan. It's we think one thing because the season. Hey, take me for example. I hate Steve Keim. Next 8 weeks in, this guy's having such an amazing off season. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. It sucks to be these people because they are people, and you have fans like me that kind of wishy-washy. You hate them one day, you love them the next. You said it beautifully, man. The cure is to win. That's the cure. But talking a little bit about Chandler Jones, I was with you as well. After the week one, I was like, pay the man. And then he got hurt. I'm like, let's wait to see when Chandler Jones comes back. And when he's come back, he's looked very sluggish, very mediocre. And I don't know how to really feel about him. One thing I would hate to see is him going to a division rival and make us regret it. And I know when he has a chip on his shoulder, he will make us regret it. But he's really not doing very much for us right now. And I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do with him. I really don't.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this question, okay? I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna turn the super chat into a tough question. If you can only keep two of those guys, which two are you bringing back?
Great question. Oh, that's such a good question.
I know, it's tough, right?
And it's so funny because Seekirk. Earlier I was like, don't do it. What are you talking about? And now I'm actually gonna put Seekirk in there. And the biggest reason as to why is we don't know if AJ Green's coming back. I love what Christian Kirk is doing in the slot. If we can keep him in that area, I love the productivity. I would bring back Christian Kirk. And, this is so tough, man.
I made it two for a reason.
I would go I would go Ertz. I would go Ertz and Kirk. And I'm so back and forth between Connor and Ertz. I'm back and forth between the both of them right now. And it can change next week. But I would go Ertz and Kirk. What do you think?
Ertz is definitely one for me. We traded something for him. He's a good tight end. Hopefully we can get a good deal on with him. I'm torn between Connor and Kirk because what I like about Connor. And Rondale Moore going to be that slot receiver, develops. You can draft receivers. I'm going to go Ertz and Connor. It's tough. Kirk was a close second there, right?
It's tough.
Right?
It's tough.
Now, we might be able to bring – it depends. We might be able to bring 3 of these guys, but I'd be really surprised if the Cardinals could bring all those guys back, right? I mean, based on what's going to happen with the contracts and everything.
You know what's crazy to me? If the Buccaneers can do it and they have these high, big profile, I'm really starting to believe that this cap space is a freaking myth and they do whatever the heck they want to do. I feel like the Rams are the same way. So convenient. The Rams just traded for Von Miller and they made the Broncos pay $9 million out of their salary. Oh, that's the reports anyway. And they're going to pay $700,000. Like, seriously, another break for the Rams? Like, you got to be kidding me, man.
I mean, at some point that you got to pay the piper, I think. But yeah, there's some creative stuff going on. So let me obviously say to the let's get. Thank you again for the super chat. Greatly appreciate the support. So let's. I want to get a few comments in here and find some questions in here. If I don't get you, I apologize. Let's see. I'd like to see Connor resign. Edmonds let go. Eno Benjamin could replace Edmonds. Power backs are more rare. We also get a compliment. Yeah, and I think they're going to think, like I said, I think they also need to pick up someone, in the draft too. Yeah. MG Yo is also adding AJ Green. We're going to have to make a decision about him as well, right?
Agree.
Let's see. Someone saying rather let Chandler Jones walk, go after some cheaper, maybe Clowney, or draft guys, right?
Yeah, I would stay away from Clowney. I feel like he's always hurt. Whenever he's going to these big, teams like this, he's always like the big offseason person. Where's he going to go? Browns. He's okay. Well, he went to the Titans, hurt. It's just I'll stay away from him.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, got a question here on this. What are you guys' thoughts on the Jair Alexander news? Have you heard this?
I did, and I only recently heard it in this last hour or two. So I don't really know what to believe because people are very good with Photoshop these days. So I'm not quite 100% sure if this is real. I wouldn't see a world where the Cardinals would do this because we have a stat. Well, I feel like our cornerbacks are doing a good enough job. And I think the main problem is the line more than anything. So if we did do something like this, I would be happy. Obviously, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. But I would also be like, why aren't we addressing what the main concern is, in my personal opinion? Because cornerbacks are great. You can have a shutdown cornerback, but really, the defensive line is basically where it starts. If you cause pressure, any cornerback can really look dynamite. I don't believe it. I don't think that this is a real thing. If it does, obviously I'll be happy, but I don't think this is a real thing.
I don't think it is. Now, tell me if you know more than I know. All I've heard is that there's supposedly that he followed the Cardinals on Instagram and maybe posted something.
Yes.
Supposedly.
So basically this is what happened. So he followed the Arizona Cardinals on Instagram, and then he put something on his story saying just a black screen and it says chapter 2. That's it. And after that, it got deleted. Now, chapter 2 usually in people's minds saying, oh, he's going to, have another story or, another story begins and a new team type of stuff. But why would the Green Bay Packers do that? Because the Green Bay Packers are going for a Super Bowl run themselves, unless there is this, hatred between him and the team. I just don't see it, but that's all I know, really.
Yeah. So that's okay. So I'd heard about that he had followed them on Instagram. I didn't hear about that post.
Yeah, the chapter 2. It's on a story.
Yeah. That part. So you never know if a player's disgruntled, but I haven't heard anything about that. But the Packers are trying to win a Super Bowl too.
Yeah.
And he's a good young player at a premium position. I mean, even was it Xavier Howard wanted out of Miami, and everyone thought he was getting traded, and they figured it out, because they don't let those kinds of guys go unless they have no other choice. So I don't think there's anything to it. I don't think they're trading him, but we'll see if I'm wrong. But Jimmy Supreme, yes, I love these two guys. We love you too. Thank you. We appreciate that. Keenan Oken, I think Chandler Jones will free up a ton of money. He's like $15 million. I mean, that's a tough part. You have to say, do you want Chandler Jones or do you want these three other players?
Yeah. Can I ask you something, man?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the obviously big blockbuster trade from the Rams? I mean, obviously it's not Cardinals, but it's within our division, so it kind of does affect us here. Do you think Von Miller is still, got to be good?
I mean, I haven't watched him play this year. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a talented pass rusher. Pass rushers can be productive late in your careers. We've seen this. So I think it's a nice pickup for them. I think it's going to make them that much tougher. It's the arms race in the NFC West just continuing. So, I don't know. I haven't seen him play enough to know what he's got left. But, when I saw that, it raised an eyebrow, and certainly it's like, okay, this division is just, or at least these two teams in this division, because, it seems like the Niners and the Seahawks are really struggling, but, it's gonna come down to the wire with these two teams. And I as much as I love the Cardinals, it wouldn't shock me if the Rams win the division and we're a wild card team. We'll see, right?
Right. As long as we can take care of our business, man. I mean, but I know we have some struggling teams coming, and I mean struggling by the terms of their record isn't very good, but we have 49ers, the Panthers, and then the Seahawks might have Russell Wilson coming back, so it might not be as easy as a lot of people think.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, here's a good question. Lennon's asking, do you think Kyler Murray will play against the 49ers?
Ooh, great question. Well, I can kind of only go based off of like what he said in his press conference, and he said that he's okay, but obviously things are when they kind of look more under the microscope and do tests the next Monday or Friday, everybody, all the news or sources are saying that he has a sprained ankle and he might miss 1 or 3 weeks. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a perfect storm for the Arizona Cardinals. I think he will play, but I think it's really going to have to come down to these head coaches. Like, they have to make sure that if he's ready to go, he needs to be 100%. I don't want to see him at 80. I don't want to see him at 70. I don't want to see him at 85. He needs to be 100%. And the biggest reason that's why I'm saying that is no point in throwing him out there when he can't be Kyler Murray. Let Colt McCoy come in. See if he's a very serviceable back. But also on the other side of the coin, I also kind of think it's a smokescreen because we love, football or, football just in general. They love to kind of, throw a wrench in there and say, who's going to be the quarterback we're going to play this coming Sunday? It's going to be Colt McCoy. It's going to be Kyler Murray. It's kind of a perfect storm. And we want to make sure San Francisco 49ers keeps guessing till Saturday night. Yeah.
I was reading just a report on this, and it sounded like, they really are just waiting to see how he progresses. It truly is questionable. And, Cliff said that they want to see how he does on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I really think it's 50-50. I think if he progresses, they'll play him. If he doesn't, if they don't think he can go out there and at least be serviceable, I think they give him a rest, and I wouldn't hate that, right? Colt McCoy for the win. Colt McCoy's an experienced quarterback. He can drive the bus for you with these weapons, and San Francisco. That's the last game was a low scoring affair. We'll see what happens this time, but it wouldn't be the worst game to sit, right?
Well, honestly, I think if Colt McCoy does start, I think we could see a different form of what our offense could look like. And it can maybe raise some eyebrows, like you say. And the biggest reason why it's to say that is because obviously when Kyler Murray's on the field, if we're not blowing a team out, and we're behind, I feel like we stop with the run game. We stop seeing Chase Edmonds and James Conner. We stop seeing it, and that kind of frustrates me. So if we do have Colt McCoy come in, I would love to kind of have the Green Bay Packers approach. Run the ball down their throat, play action, and then do the ball every once in a while. We don't have to put it in Colt McCoy's hands. Let our wide receivers work some magic. Zach Ertz, use our weapons as much as we possibly can because we don't have the Murray magic. You can't run out of the pocket. But, I want to
and I think regardless of which quarterback starts, I want to see a game plan that involves our running backs running more in early downs, because if Kyler is banged up, you don't want him having to run in those. The reason he's having to run so much is because you're in second and third and long, right? Because he needs to buy time to make those plays. If they run the ball on first down, get themselves to like a 2nd and 6, quick passes that don't require him running, quick slant, just get the ball in his hands quickly, not put him in that situation, whether it's him or Colt McCoy. I think that's the game plan I'd like to see for at least for the 49ers game, right?
Yeah.
Let me real quick say hey to some of the people who are here. If I miss you, I apologize. Otis Driftwood's here. Tomorrow's the trade deadline, yes, so we'll see what happens. So if anything's happening, it's happening then. And I know we're just about out of time, so I'm going to end with a question for you, Mike, once I say hey to everyone here. Tapatio, man, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. RM, thank you for being here. He's saying that Jair Alexander is too much like Byron Murphy, so I could see that. Chris, hey, just got here. Thanks for being here, Chris. I appreciate you. Always here, one of our regular viewers. Make sure I got everyone. Okay, so here's my question for you. Trade deadline. What's up with that? Anything going to happen, Mike? What do you think?
Oh, man. If I was Steve Keim, something would happen. What I would do is I would say, Rams, I see your Von Miller. This is what I'm going to do right back. Because
I call Von Miller and raise you who?
Exactly.
Who are you raising them?
Fletcher Cox, man. Give me Fletcher Cox. And the biggest reason why you said the contract,
though, dude.
The contract, but if we can give him maybe a third round, he's an older guy. If we can give him a third rounder, maybe we can have something along the lines where the Broncos and the Rams pulled off something where you're like, you pay most of his contract, we'll give you a high pick. We could probably do something like that and let them pay the contract, and we can just give maybe a third rounder. Because if we're going all in, this is the time. Kyler Murray is in a cheap rookie year. This is the time. Once we pay Kyler, a lot of the weapons will start disappearing unless we draft good.
Do you know what his cap hit is next year?
How much is it?
$26 million.
Oh, snap. Is it really?
Yeah. He restructured. So his
what's
cap
the prorated to that?
Yeah, right. Like the dead cap is $24 million and $295. So I'm not a capologist, so I don't know what kind of voodoo they can do. But that's why I know a lot of people have been talking Fletcher Cox, and I did a video about what they're going to do after with the J.J. Watt injury, and I one of the things I kind of said is I don't see Fletcher Cox because that contract is
pretty high.
It's a poison pill.
Yeah, that is actually pretty high.
So, but I mean, the player would be great. I've heard. I think one of there's been a rumor about Andy Isabella to Detroit.
Yep.
And the name that I know, at least in kind of my comments and Discord, people have connected that I like, and I mentioned this in my video, was like Michael Brockers, right? Veteran interior defensive lineman. If we could trade Andy Isabella for him, maybe we have to throw in a late round pick to make it happen. Maybe they throw in a late round pick. I don't know. I wouldn't hate that, right?
Is he in Detroit, Michael Brockers?
Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha.
So I want to say hey to Payo Time. Payo Time's a good dude, Rams YouTuber. Appreciate you, Payo Time. Thanks for being here. Sup, Red Sea? Yeah, you're in here to excite. We were just talking about your guy, Von Miller, that you all picked up. So I'm sure you guys are excited about that. But yeah, Solar Wolf AZ likes the Brockers, right?
It's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
Do you think something will happen?
Man,
I'm kind of back and forth.
Yeah, because I do think they like this roster. And the question is, is a guy you're going to trade for better than, you got to trade for a guy who's solid, because you're not trading like a 6th round pick for a 3rd string defensive lineman, because you can get a guy who's comparable off the practice squad.
Exactly.
I'm going to say no. And obviously they could prove me wrong. I feel like they made the big splash with Ertz. I think they like their roster. I think they feel like if they can get healthy, they're fine. And I think they like their cornerback room, and I don't blame them, because the cornerback room was something we're concerned about. But they've actually played pretty well.
Yeah.
So I
agree. We just got to make sure we stop the run, because I don't want this to be a consistent trend. And I do think that Vance Joseph hopefully will make it right. Get the right personnel on the field. Let's make it happen.
Well, let me use this as a chance to kind of pitch my next video, and then we'll let you say your final parting shots there, Mike. Mm-hmm. I'm working on a video right now that should be out sometime this week, where I'm doing a deeper dive into the Cardinals' run defense. Going to look at a little bit at the film, some numbers, to kind of get into talking more about what's going on with the Cardinals' run defense. So watch for that to come out sometime this week. I've been working on it already. it's going to be probably one of my bigger videos in terms of how much information I put into it.
Sweet.
Been spending the last couple of days working on it. So
Yeah.
Watch for that. So maybe I might have a few answers about a run defense, or at least a little more insight about it. Mike, anything else you want to say as we head out?
No, man. Hopefully we can do Victory Monday next week because, man, obviously we all were disappointed. But yeah, let's stay clear away from the whole cut AJ Green. Man, he's done wonders for us this year. Definitely a mistake. And like a lot of people in the chat said, I would rather lose to a very, very good team in prime time and just let the haters hate, man. They're gonna say some dumb things out there. Say, oh, the Cardinals are dead or the Cardinals are over. We'll be fine. We'll bounce back.
100%. Well, everyone, thanks for being here. In case you just jumped in, our new format, we're going to be doing this about 30 minutes every Monday. Do our studs and duds and our Q&A like we did today. We went a few minutes over, but we appreciate you all being here, supporting both of our channels, and being part of this Cardinals community. And for those of you who aren't part of the Cardinals community, like Payo Time, thanks for jumping in. We appreciate you. 100%. So we're going to head out. We will see you all next time. Have a great